Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to need to do to get started is download our program Xcode. So you'll need to, on your Mac, go to the App Store. Just wait for it to load. In the search bar here, just type Xcode. And this is just the application that we use to write all our apps. I've already got it downloaded, so it's asking me to update. You can go ahead and just download it from scratch. It'll take you a few hours depending on your internet connection. It's a fairly large one. So go ahead and do that and see you in the next section. All right, the next thing we want to do is press the Command and Space bar and type Xcode and then enter to open Xcode. We then want to create a new Xcode project. Let's wait for Xcode to load. Okay, we want a single view app, and so tap single view app and then click next. Product name can be whatever you want to call the app. We're going to call it Bitcoin_wallet. You're going to need to go ahead and click add account, and you'll want to log in with your existing Apple ID or create a new one. We can also unclick use core data. Okay, we then go to, once you've logged in with your existing Apple ID or created one, we go to Apple Developer in our Google search and just click the first link there, the developer.apple.com. Okay, click on Account. Log in with your Apple ID and just click Sign In. Okay, you have to agree to the terms and conditions as usual with any of these Apple logins and signups and updates. They don't harass you with emails. And that's it. Now you can come back over to Xcode, click View Controller, and that takes us back to we'll just go back to the home screen here in Xcode. Just to show you what's going on, you want to click Automatically Manage Signing. So you would tap on Bitcoin Wallet there on the top left to get to this page. You'll have to select your team, and don't worry about the failed provisioning profiles. We don't need those when we're working with the simulator. App Delegate is the first file that runs when we run our app on the iPhone. Then we have View Controller. Well, then we have our main storyboard, which is, here you can see what's called a view controller. Think of it like the screen on your iPhone. You can drag and drop buttons and things directly onto here. But we're going to be doing everything programmatically. We're not going to be doing much in the storyboard. But it's pretty much everything that faces the user is there, like labels and buttons, which you can add very conveniently onto the iPhone screen. And you can have lots of view controllers and link them all together here on the main storyboard. We're only going to be working with one view controller. We have that little arrow down there on it means that's the first view controller that loads, and it is hooked up to our viewcontroller.swift file here on the left. So this is the code that powers that view controller. You can see our class calling the view controller, and our function viewDidLoad is the first thing that always happens. It's the first function that happens when we start our apps. Okay, again, override function viewDidLoad, that's where everything starts. We'll be putting all our code into viewDidLoad. We're going to start off now. This is a comment. You can see the 2 backslashes in front of it. That's just a random note. You can write notes to yourself or for other people anywhere in the code just by putting 2 backslashes in front of it. Our first statement is going to be a print statement. So just type print, parentheses, and quote marks, hello world, exclamation mark. And then up here you can see we've got iPhone XR running. We're going to be working in the simulator. So you can choose any type of model, iPhone or iPad you want to test on. We're going to do iPhone 7. Okay, and then you can go ahead and run your app. Press play. And just waiting for the app to load. Build succeeded, showing we have no errors and everything's going great at this time. I've got two simulators open there, that's why you see that, the one on the left with the white screen. So we've got our console down here. We can see our hello world. Print statement has printed out in the console. So you use these print statements for like checking where you are in your code as the app runs. It's great for debugging and finding problems with the app. So congratulations, that's your first Hello World program. I like to put in a print statement for the view controller and view did load, so I know, because a lot of times you'll have many view controllers that you're switching back and forth from. Okay, so now that we've gotten our Hello World first bit of coding experience completed, let's go to our next step, which is going to be the terminal. So you can go ahead and click Command Space and type terminal and then enter, and that will open up the terminal program. This is how you can communicate with your computer programmatically. So here we are, we've got our terminal open here. I'm going to go ahead and teach you your first terminal command, which is ls, and that's just the list command. It lists a printout of all the file names in the directory that you're currently in. So that's desktop, documents, downloads, libraries. So if you go in your Finder, what do we do? Shift, Command H, I believe it is, and that takes you home. So here I am at guest. You can see guest here, and we have listed all of the folders that are in the guest directory. So now we want to change directory. That's our next command, cd, and we can go into desktop. And now you can see it's changed here and shows us that we're in desktop now. Right. Go ahead and list all of our folders and files that we have there. We have Bitcoin wallet. So we can go ahead and cd into Bitcoin wallet and list all of. Okay, and then if you'd like to get back to your root folder, you can just type in change directory, cd, enter, and then that takes you right back to your root folder. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because we need to download a program called cocoapods, which is for integrating packages of code into Xcode that will help us work with Bitcoin a lot easier. And this is something that you will use a lot if you ever make any apps for many different, just extremely convenient SDKs. So we want to do sudo gem install cocoapods, the password. Okay, so yeah, obviously I'm on the guest part of my computer, so sudo will always make you log in with a password. So if you had a password, on your end, you do want to do sudo gem install cocoapods. I'm just going to go ahead and try gem install cocoapods. Alright, so on my computer, again, I'm creating this tutorial from my guest users, and the guest user does not have write permission. You should not have this error when you go to do sudo gem install cocoapods. Once you get cocoapods installed and downloaded, you can move on to the next section. Okay, at this time you want to go to your browser and go to www.github.com/oleganza/CoreBitcoin and scroll down to the using CoreBitcoin CocoaPods section, and you'll be copying a bit of code out of there under add this to your pod file. You can look in the description of the YouTube video and you'll see the link there. Okay, and then we're going to close Xcode and everything and reopen up our terminal from fresh cd desktop /Bitcoin_wallet. So we're in the Bitcoin wallet directory. We're going to type pod init and then enter, and that creates a pod file. Then you're going to type open space -a space Xcode space pod file, and that opens the pod file in Xcode for us. Okay, so now that's your pod file opened. We're going to need to go back to our browser and copy and paste the link that we need to post in here from GitHub. And we want to put a comment, which is the # in front of the use_frameworks to comment that line out. You can then save and close your pod file, and we will come back to terminal and type in pod install, and then let it go ahead and go through the process of installing. This is going to generate an XC workspace file for us. So from now on, we want to go to the XC workspace. It's going to be the white and blue one. So we go back to our original folder there on the desktop, and then there's our XC workspace. So from now on, you always open the app with the XC workspace file. And then just coming back over to our view controller. So now you need to go to File, and we want to create a new file. It's going to be what we call a bridging header, an Objective-C bridging header. So yeah, File, and then select this Objective-C file, press Next, name it Header, and it's going to be empty. Next, and then make sure it's saved in your app. Then click Create Bridging Header. So that creates two documents for us. We've got our header.m and our Bitcoin wallet bridging header.h. We want to go to the link I provide, and you can copy in that second line of code there, and then go down to, go ahead and select your Bitcoin wallet bridging header, and the two files I give you, the GitHub files, you can just literally copy and paste from GitHub and then paste in here into your bridging header and your header.m file as well. So they'll be identical. Links of these files are located in the description of the YouTube video. All right, let's go ahead and press play and run the app. And you can see the app launches with no errors. Okay, we can go ahead and stop running the app. And as you can see, it doesn't do much right now. So we'll go ahead and press the stop button and the folder button on the top left there to get back to our viewcontroller.swift file. And let's go ahead and put some code. So first off, let key equal BTC key dot init. And what that does is it creates a Bitcoin key for us. And it has all the information to get our private keys and addresses, which I'll show you shortly. You can go ahead and type print key. And so these printout statements are great for debugging. And we want to go ahead and test our app out now. Press play and see if this runs with no errors. So we've got key, optional, BTC key, brilliant. We've got our private key there and our public key. So that's great. Everything looks wonderful. That is how you wire up everything so that you can code with Bitcoin, the CoreBitcoin library using Xcode. We'll go ahead and continue on and actually make an app where we can store Bitcoin. So let with equal key question mark period with. So the with is a wallet import format, and it's basically just the most common format for your private key, and it's easiest to read. And then the address, key.address, that is, it gets derived from your public key. So you have your private key and your public key there. We can get the address from the public key. And then we just print with and print address to make sure everything looks good. Whenever you're coding, you just want to do things very step by step and slowly. You'll get lots of errors otherwise. The printout works great there. We've got our address and our width. So that literally just created a Bitcoin wallet for you. You can send Bitcoin to that address and you can spend the Bitcoin with that private key. And you can do that 100% with zero internet connection whatsoever. Okay, now we can do key (is public key compressed equals true. And that will give us a different private key. So all the wallets nowadays, everything, the public key is compressed. There you can start to see the private key starts with an L instead of a 5, I believe what it was previously. And Xcode is very easy. It auto-suggests fixes for you. If you get a red warning, that's an error and the code will not run. You will need to fix it. So let's go ahead and create our first label. You can just follow along with the code. The other great thing about Xcode is you can, with the auto suggest, so if I want to know all the properties that we can add to a label, I can just type label and period, and it will just auto suggest everything that we can do. Here we're creating the frame, the actual coordinates of where the label will be placed on your iPhone screen. So the X and Y are the coordinates. The X is the amount left to right, and Y is the amount up and down, and then obviously your width and your height. So you can just go ahead and copy everything I'm doing exactly as is. This is creating everything programmatically. You can go to the storyboard like I mentioned earlier in the video, and you can add all these labels and like table views and buttons and all sorts of things, image views and new view controllers all in the storyboard, but you can also do it programmatically. Sometimes it's just easier, especially with if you want to get everything laid out nicely. Okay, and we're defining the font, we're defining the text alignment if it's aligned to the left, center, or right, text color, and then view dot add subview and your label. Go ahead and run your app to make sure the code works. And so if it runs properly, we should see a private key displayed. And there it is. There's our private key. And now every time you run the app, it's creating a new private key for you. So every time you do btc key.init, that's a brand new private key. All right, and then we want to add an Objective-C function. So that's going to be @objc space func toggle, as you can see. And then we're just setting up what's called an if statement here, where we're checking if the label.text equals with, or if it equals anything else, we're going to toggle between the label.text equaling the address or the label.text equaling the width. So we'll be able to press a button and just switch between the width and the address. So we need to make a few changes in order to make all this work. we're going to have to cut the label, and we're going to put it outside so it's a global variable for everything in the view controller. And same thing with the width. We'll take it out so we can access these variables anywhere in the code here in view controller. And then it's not going to be optional, so we don't need that question mark there if it's global variable. Sorry, if it's global variable. So the width is already a string, so we do not need to type string behind it like I am there. So if we get errors, we can just click them and see what it suggests to fix. That looks pretty ugly. I don't think that's what we want to do. It's good to make mistakes. That's why I'm showing you these errors, is it's good to see what happens and how to fix them and what comes up. So just bear with me. So we are going to turn, instead of saying let key equal btc key.init, we're going to say if let key equal, and if it does, then it executes the code below it. Because we're not sure, there's a possibility that btc key.init might not work for whatever reason. We don't really know for sure. So we go ahead and wrap it in an if statement is what that's called. Again, it won't be optional, so we can delete the question marks. In order for it to go through the if statement successfully, by definition, it needs to exist. And then we turn anytime there's a global variable inside of a function, you have to put self before the variable, self.width, self.address. I will be needing to add dot string behind that address because that address is not in a string format. And a string is just basically any text and any kind of text display that you would see on your phone is a string. Okay, let's go ahead and run the app. It's good, it's run successfully with no bugs, and we've got our private key. We put in that adjust font size to fit width equals true, so the whole private key just changes the font size down to fit in there. So we still haven't added our button. Let's go ahead and do that now. Let button equal UI button. See, I made a mistake right there. Instead of typing in UI button, I let the auto suggest fill out UI label for me. That's going to give me a problem in a second. So button.frame equals, and then just type in cgrect, and it auto suggests. And you want to get the type with CG float numbers. There's different types of numbers in computer programming. So these are floats, and you can have doubles, and you can also have integers. Integers are whole numbers. Doubles have decimal places, and floats are very weird. You can go ahead and Google that one. I don't like them. And again, the button.frame, that's usually the first thing I do, is assign where visually it's going to be on the screen. You can also put in properties for the frame from the label, so you can put the button. Okay, we want the width to be 100, the height 50. And there we are. I've realized I've made a mistake, and because I'm trying to add button properties to, label properties to a button. There, so we need to make sure that any button is a UI button. So then we can set the title, and there we can put a string in, which is going to be displayed to the user. So we're going to just call it a toggle. The display text label will be toggle. And we're going to set the title color, UI color dot blue, and control state dot normal. Okay, and then we want to add our function to the button. So when somebody clicks it, this is the function that will happen. You got to put in some funny language there, but again, use auto-suggest to help you out. UI control event dot touch up inside, so you can even control it to where the button senses its touches. Self toggle, so that toggle function is our Objective-C function that we created earlier. And then view.add subview button, and then we should be able to run this code, and our button should toggle between the width and the address. All right, our button is there. You can kind of look at the .frame code and see why it's where it is. All right, and we can successfully toggle between the address and private key. That is a Bitcoin wallet. Congratulations. Obviously, there's a lot more you can do with the CoreBitcoin library. This is just a good starting point. I hope to add more of these and get better content out there. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.